Welcome tonight to the Zoning Board of Appeals, tonight 7 p.m., Thursday, December 26th. If you all stand for the pledge, Mr. Snezza, if you could lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As you can see, we have a videotaping in progress here. It is by MIlton. And if you could just introduce who you are and kind of what this is for, what this represents, that would be good.
Sure. My name is Judith Froelich. MIlton Watch is a free YouTube channel so that anyone in the town that wants to watch video recordings of past meetings, planning board, zoning board, town board, public special meetings, anything that might be of interest in a community event, that they can watch those for free.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Just as a reminder, the official meeting minutes will come from, Tina will do those meeting minutes, and those will be our official record. Speaking of meeting minutes, that's next on the agenda. Our last meeting was on November 21st. Are there any modifications? Actually, why don't we do a motion, and then we'll see if there's any modifications on those.
I'll make a motion to accept the meetings as written.
I'll second the motion.
Any comments, questions? Discussion? Okay. Tina, if you could call our roll, that'd be great.
Okay. Mr. Hurd.
Yes.
Mr. Quillen.
Yes.
Mr. Manning.
Yes.
Mr. Smaznow.
Yes.
Chairwoman Soto.
Yes. Okay, let's see. And we're exactly at 7:05, which is great because we have a public hearing. And it's for the area variance at 105 Hudson Lane, 176.1-1-68. And that's for the Young's residence. Can we just give a brief synopsis of kind of what the project is about, and then we can move forward? Yes, thank you.
Hello again. I'm looking to tear down the garage that I have on my property and build another one in its place. That's as brief as I can get, I guess.
Okay. Now, what is the exact area variance that you are looking for? Because that will be obviously the crux of it, what we're considering for.
Okay. In other words, you'd like the size of the building?
What is the what is it going from or to? How does it modified from what the zoning says? So what is that discrepancy that you're seeking?
Madam
Okay.
Chair,
Yes.
Madam Chair and applicant, if you don't mind, maybe I can help you out on that a little bit. I think what the Madam Chair is asking is what you're asking for relief. Right now, the actual structure sits approximately 5 foot from the last submittal that we had at the last zoning board meeting. It sits 5 foot into the town's right of way, and the applicant is asking the board to approve the removal of the existing structure and the installation of a new structure on the same footprint, not encroaching any further on the road, but at a negative 5 foot into the right of way for the town.
Well said. Yep.
Okay. Would anyone like to speak out of the two people that we have here? We're gonna close the public hearing, and it is currently 7:07. So now would be a time that we just kind of deliberate and talk about. Now, just to sum up a couple things that we had previously talked about at our last meeting. So we had asked you to consider some other options than the proposed request, okay? Seeing that it still was, you know, it was very close to the road. We wanted you to look at, hey, can we make it smaller? Can we move it? Can we even move the distribution box? Things like that. So we kind of laid it out to you, hey, consider some of the other options that you may have. In addition, we said, hey, what's the measurement from the edge of the road to the garage? So that was another piece of it. And the survey of the property, in addition to the deed, would give you that information. So those are kind of some of the pieces that we requested. Did you get a chance to kind of look at those or to kind of gather some of that information for us?
I do have my survey with me. I don't have copies of it, but I have the survey.
Okay, so we will need a copy of it. So that's kind of delay us a little bit because we need to, obviously all our board members are going to need to take a look at that and consider that when we consider the request for the relief, okay? As far as any additional thoughts on modifying what your plan was, any thoughts on that?
We haven't moved any further with options yet.
Okay,
I'm still kicking some ideas around.
okay,
Yep.
all right. Any other, Pat?
Yeah, I wasn't here for the last meeting here, I was out of town working. This is an existing barn that you have?
Yes.
Now, at 5 foot, is there any chance, would there be an acceptable measure as far as decreasing that size by 5 foot? Would that?
That's one of the options I'm looking into, I guess, if this doesn't pass.
How big is the building?
The one that's there,
Yes, the existing one.
let's see. It's, I don't know if you got a packet then, though. You probably wouldn't know.
I got
There's
a
a,
36 by 32.
probably better pictures than what you have.
Yeah, I didn't have any pictures, okay.
So yeah, we're looking at going 36 feet along the road and 32 feet from where it sits now back.
Is this your shed here?
That's my shed, yep. That would have to get moved.
That would be moved or torn down, or?
We're gonna try to move it, I think.
Okay. Because I just wondered, you plan to widen this out
Yes.
this way?
Yep.
Okay. If you went back, I see the tree line back there, how far is the tree line from the back of that building?
Probably 50 to 70 feet, maybe.
And is that where your distribution box is and your leach field?
It's on the other part, over this way,
Down
yep.
this way?
Yep. It's actually directly behind the garage.
Oh, it is directly there.
Yeah.
So you would be, this building here, your new garage would be somewhat pretty close to that leach field?
It would be close, yeah, I think it's within 5 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were able, well, being so, that's 5 feet, and you're out here in the road 5 feet, if you could move that back, say, even if you could move it back, you couldn't get to 5 foot, could you move it back 4.5 feet?
Yeah, Pat, we had talked about in the last meeting about the distribution box is kind of the thing that kind of, you know, would probably have to be moved.
Moved.
Yeah, for the building to move back. And a couple people had weighed into that as far as, you know, complexity and cost and that sort of thing. But that was something that they were gonna
Yeah.
look at doing.
Like I say, I'm looking at it here, and that is 20 feet from the center to the building, that's pretty close.
Right, I mean, but, you know, I compare it to the telephone
Yeah.
pole that's there,
Yeah, the
and
pole,
my neighbor's garage too,
that's still there.
yeah, yep.
And
And I wasn't gonna come any closer, I was gonna stay in the same,
The footprint?
yes, just make it longer and go back some.
Bill, did you want to mention
Yeah,
something?
Madam Chair, I had some time and took a ride up to Hudson Lane, and as you can see, he submitted pictures of a barn which is closer to the road. Where the barn is in kind of character of the road. It's a dead-end road with no buried utilities on it. The poles are moved up. But again, I'd like to refer you guys to our section of our code, 18067, non-conforming use, and the section D, the destruction and removal of it, would be something that you might want to consider as part of your vote on the project. But with being in character of the road, as the applicant says, there are buildings and structures that are closer to the right-of-way that are not conforming to our code and have been there for years. Just to inform everybody, if you didn't get a chance to get up there, I think Mr. Schmaznow went up, and I don't know who else went up, but there are, the road is a dead-end, one-way dead-end road with a cul-de-sac turnaround on the backside.
So, Mr. Lewis, you were referring to 18067D, which is destruction.
Yeah.
Let me just read that, just for the benefit of the board here. If any building or structure in which a non-conforming use is conducted is hereafter removed or destroyed by fire, wind, explosion, structural failure, or other natural cause to the extent of 50% or more of its true market value at the time of such damage as adjusted from assessed value based upon State Board of Equalization rates, it shall not be repaired or rebuilt unless a special permit is granted by the planning board. Now, let me ask a question to you. It doesn't seem to say, it says fire, wind, explosion, structural failure, or other natural cause. It doesn't seem like it fits those things. I mean, further down in the 18068 area, the non-conforming buildings or structures, under A2, it says a non-conforming building or structure may not be altered except to create a conforming building or
Sure,
structure.
yeah,
Did that
that
seem
as
to-
well, yeah, that's
Okay.
fair as well. That would, again, apply to that. I think, as you say, probably in a better situation than 67.
Okay. So that's something the board just to kind of consider, because in
Yeah.
addition to the relief, it would be basically a relief from this
Correct,
code
from
as
that.
well.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Jerry, can you officially close out our public hearing, please?
Going to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll second the motion.
I'm sorry, who's second?
Pat.
Pat. Okay. All right, Mr. Akari?
Yes.
Mr. Quillen?
Yes.
Mr. Manning?
Yes.
Mr. Schmaznow?
Yes.
Chairwoman Soden?
Yes. Okay, are there further questions or clarifications that the board needs as far as, obviously, we're gonna get some additional information, the survey, we're gonna take a look at that. And you're gonna consider some additional options, but in addition to, just to clarify some items for anyone.
The one question I would have is if you tear that building down, does that affect what we're trying to do?
Absolutely.
How so?
Then it becomes an entirely different application.
Right.
So in this instance, what we're looking at, as the chairwoman pointed out, is 180-68 A2. And that section states, a non-conforming building or structure may not be altered except to create a conforming building or structure. So in this instance, I think the appropriate thought process is twofold with respect to the nature of the relief that the applicant is seeking. First, he has an existing non-conforming condition there at the site,
Which works the way it is.
which works the way it is. Grandfathered, I think this section, Mr. Lewis may correct me, probably went into effect in 1972 or
believe so,
thereabouts,
yes.
from what I could tell. So the current condition that Mr. Young's has is fine. There's a prohibition on an enlargement or an expansion of that pre-existing condition. So correct, if he leaves it alone as is, he's fine. So what he's really asking for in terms of the relief is It's relief from that section that the chairwoman read, together with relief in the nature of the variance. And that's the area variance, and that's the technical piece that Mr. Lewis has worked hard on to quantify for you. And as he's quantified it, it's the negative 5 feet, as he says. So it is a little bit different. We have two prongs here. It's not as if we've got an applicant coming in with, say, a clean slate and an open piece of ground with no improvement whatsoever, and then asking for relief to improve the property. This improvement, as it stands today, is fine. And we think of it as and I think Mr. Lewis pointed out at the last meeting, it's a pre-existing, non-conforming structure. And that's fine. That in common language, Mr. Young's his grandfather, so he's fine as he sits there today.
It's when he starts to modify it or disassemble it or
Torn down.
That's right.
That's when the
That's right.
conditions change. It's the same thing in Adirondack Park or with DEC.
Right.
You have a structure, and if you can modify that structure, but only a certain part of it. If you leave part of it in place, you're fine.
100% correct.
If you tear the whole thing down, you gotta start right from the beginning,
That's right.
through both entities.
And not to digress too far, but it helps you think it through,
Right.
that what's really going on here is, remember, in 1972, when zoning went into effect, the idea was, from that day forward, there'd be uniformity in that district with respect to the conditions and improvements and uses. But you can't go back and tell people that have been there from, we got a real old barn. You can't tell them tear it down in 1972. They beat you to it. They built the improvement before you went to zoning. So the law says that it disfavors those conditions, and to some extent, that's why the applicant's faced with the burden that he is here, because zoning wants to phase out those pre-existing non-conforming conditions to bring it into a uniform state going forward. So 100% correct.
Yeah.
Just to also fill in the board, we have issued, the board, as they know, have issued 0 setbacks to the right of way or to the property lines, but negatives I don't recall we've ever dealt with. So it's a unique situation at best.
But just to illustrate that point, as I understand it from the applicant's representations, with respect to the most significant relief that he seeks, he's actually coming in and asking for the relief consistent with the condition as it exists today. So he's not going to make it worse, if you will.
Correct.
And in fairness, I think that that's an important, significant fact for members of the board to consider.
Yes, it will not be negatively impacting the area any more than it's already impacted by the existing structure.
And from what I read too, the town highway superintendent had no issues as far as plowing or maintaining the road.
Not with the way that it's at. He just said that it's been that way forever. He's got buildings, as you can see in the pictures that were submitted by the applicant, that are closer to the road. He had no issues with it, but we talked about the zoning part of it, and he was in agreement that, if we're going to remove, we should try to make it best fit the code.
Going forward, yes.
Yes.
So just one final thought in that regard, and I don't mean to take up too much time, but so the real question is, can the negative 5 feet be reduced? That's really the issue. Or eliminated.
So before we continue, we're still looking for the same 2 documents, all right? The deed and.
Correct. Correct.
Our survey.
Yep. So since he has a survey, to make sure we get some copies. We'll consider some additional options. If he can, or what he can stand for, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I left my survey in my car, can I go get that?
Oh, yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
certainly, yeah.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Yeah, just bring it on back when you get done. In the meantime, we'll wait for those. We've already done the seeker, which was a type 2, so it's exempt from further environmental review, so that's good. And we're the lead agent on this, so we've got the seeker stuff handled on that. So, once we get everything that we need, then we'll make a determination at our next meeting on this. Any questions from anyone? No? Okay.
What are we waiting for now? The deed and,
Right, the survey and the deed,
okay, he has a survey for the
Yeah.
map of deed.
right. Yep, yep. Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second the motion.
All concur.
All concur. Thank you for coming.
You were rather loquacious. I was waiting.